Jordan, thanks for joining us on Serves You Right.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. I feel like I don't do podcasts super often, so it's always nice to get to talk for longer than a minute or two. It's usually what they cap you on social media.
Right, yeah, that like minute TikTok and then scroll up, yeah.
Right.
I did want to start off because this morning I was talking to my wife and we're kind of going over the day we had, and I said, I was talking to you, and she kind of paused because I told her about your handle, the High Proof Preacher. And so my parents were, I've got a background in Southern Baptist. I'm like from Texas originally.
Nice.
She was like, what is, and I was like, you know what, I'll ask him. I'll find out. So are you a religious background? Like what was the name? Where did it come from?
Yeah, so background was, I was a Christian pastor for a few years. I remember what I remember I quit in 2017. I was on staff at a Christian church here in the Portland area for 3 or 4 years, kind of youth pastor stuff, then kind of moved up to kind of more of like family pastor and kind of all ages. And before that, like did the Bible college seminary thing, highly involved in church growing up. My dad's a pastor. My wife's dad is a pastor. So it's very much
might
heavily
actually be
in the
in my
background.
Family. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally. So
Okay.
yeah, so that's like now feels like another life, but that very much was my life for the first few decades of it, I guess. So
Sure.
And then I quit the job in 2017. Just kind of got to a point of but burnout is kind of the short answer. I think also just like, when you're a kid growing up in youth group and it was like, oh yeah, being a youth pastor, that looks like fun. You just get to take kids to camp and you get to, it looked like a very fun job. And then you get a job at a church and be like, oh yeah, it's still a business. Churches still have to make money, and there's a lot of weirdness in that level too, or that realization where you're like, oh yeah, like you go into it because it's about people, and then you realize, yeah, hopefully if it's a good church, it's about people, but there's also just other stuff too that can mess with you. So
Sure.
I kind of just got to a point where I was like, I just need to do something else for a while is kind of the short answer. And apparently that while is still going.
Yeah. Well, I could even imagine that, like, my wife has toyed with the idea of being a therapist someday, and I think she'd do great at it. And,
Yeah.
In her mind, I think on one side, it's like you get to talk to people and, like, share and relate with them. But what has stopped her, and I'm glad it has, is like, not everyone is doing well like you are. Like you see the whole gamut of human experience too, and I'm sure it's similar when you work at a church. Not everyone is like well adjusted and like reasonable like you. You get to help people at their best and worst.
Yeah, it's definitely like I feel like in most jobs it's like there's a reality check at some level, right? Of where it's you go in thinking it's going to be one thing, and then you kind of realize, oh yeah, like there's good things and there's also not so good things. And yeah, for me, it was also just like a matter of always growing up in it too, and just kind of like your world and worldview expands a bit. You're like, all right, like it's hard to take a good, honest look at things when you're like your livelihood is connected to being a pastor in the church, and if there's things you want to question or understand, it's like, oh, like you don't always feel quite safe enough to do that when you're employed at a church. So that was part of the move too, of just seeing like I kind of need to just step back and do something. For me, it was just like I want to do something fun and creative and just different. Again, I was like, at least for a while, kind of figure out who I am, figure out my life sort of deal.
Got it.
Yeah, so that was kind of the early move, at least.
Well, I am so glad that I asked you, because I honestly am no judgment. I 100% was like, I bet he was trying different combinations, and High Proof Preacher like it was just available. I was like that is a great combination of words that no one would have thought to take that handle yet. So I'm like, great, good job for you. You're like the first person to get like Blanc de Noir or something, and you're a wine person.
Right.
It's like, yes.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Did you go straight into the drink making, or how'd that work?
Yeah, so I mean, it was funny. It's like I had started this High Proof Preacher at the time. I was like, again, 2017-ish was like, all right, it was like blogs were like kind of like the big thing, but it was like obviously social media and there stuff happening, but it was kind of like started as like a recipe blog. It was like, cool, I'm gonna like, I just kind of got into making cocktails at home as a hobby sort of thing, and was like, oh, this is like a fun creative outlet, and I'm decent at photography. So at the time it was all still images, so it was more of a blog focus, and then like posting photos on Instagram. And yeah, then when I quit the church job, I started picking up some like event bartending gigs. I started working at like this kind of co-working social club thing and coming up with like kind of 4 to 5 drink menu sort of thing for them. So it's all very much like all the fun parts of bartending, you know?
Without the Tuesday
like,
grind or anything, yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like, you know, I was coming up with recipes, and then, you know, I'd be doing like corporate events for like Nike or whatever, and, you know, you come up with 2 or 3 cocktails and you just make those over and over. And so it was a fun way to kind of get into it. And then as I was kind of looking at like, okay, maybe I could go work for a bar or restaurant, and was like, you know, my wife and I were also thinking about, you know, family and stuff too. So also was like, all right, if I'm recreating my life, what do I want my life to look like? So I was kind of looking at like bartending or photography. So those are kind of my two, like, here's my 2 things I'm going to try. And photography, I thought you had to photograph weddings, because everyone I knew who was a professional photographer, they
That's
shot
the
weddings.
Money.
So that's where I was like, all for weddings. Weddings are great. I just don't want to photograph them. That sounds way too high pressure, and you got to deal with bridezillas all the time, and you're working nights, weekends, and summers. And I was like, okay, maybe that's not the direction. And then was talking with some different people about, you know, picking up some bar shifts, maybe going to bartending. And they're like, yep, cool. You start at, you know, 9 p.m. You get off at 4. And I was like, okay, that would be harder if we're thinking about kids at some point. And obviously you can do it. A lot of people do, but I just kind of was like, just kind of struggling with what direction I wanted to go in, and kind of just figured out like combining the cocktail making bartending thing with photography. It was like, oh, maybe this is where the magic is. Basically started working for, at the time, a lot of just local distilleries in Portland, Oregon, where I still live. And it was a lot of smaller distilleries, not big brands, not big budgets, but they're like, hey, we know spirits, we have all these liqueurs and all these cool things we make, but we're struggling figuring out how to like show people this is what you can do with them. So I was like, well, I can make cocktails, I can come up with recipes people can make in their kitchen, and I can create the marketing assets for them. I could make the photos, the videos. So it was kind of like my 2-part offer sort of thing was like, cool, I can work with your spirits, your products, come up with these kind of very approachable recipes, and, you know, create the imagery that you could use for your website and for social media. And that was kind of my in of getting started. And was kind of like, cool, I guess now I'm a cocktail photographer. Like, it was always kind of like, you know, what do I don't really say like I'm a bartender, because it's like I wasn't really working behind a bar. Again, I was doing some event bartending, so it's like I had some skills at least, but it was like, but I'm also doing more than just photographing. I'm also coming up with all these recipes, you know, behind the images and stuff too. So it was kind of this hybrid thing that I was like, again, everything was just like, I'm just going to try this for a while and see what happens sort of thing. Yeah, it was something where it's like every kind of piece where it was like, cool, I'm quitting the church job. I'm just going to do something else for a while. And I was like, cool, and I'm going to be this cocktail photographer, content guy. I'll do that for a while. You know, so it's always kind of been a little bit of just chasing things down and seeing what works, which I guess is a lot of the self-employed journey.
Yeah. Like a lot of life, let's be honest. Yeah.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
No, and I mean, I totally feel that. Like, I understand the pain of, like, I went through years and years of the pain of working in a, like, true bar job. And, like, I think back to it now, and, like, at Milagro, I got home at 6 a.m. Like, 6 a.m. Like, I wake up before the time I got home. Like,
right.
Geez,
yeah.
That is crazy. And, like, I didn't think twice about it when I was 21. And, like, it would destroy me now. Yeah, like, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
It's wild. Yeah. You know.
Yeah. I did a lot of, like, coffee shop jobs, too, where I was like, where it's just like opening shift, you're you know, so I kind of had like the reverse where it was just like you're getting up at 3 and then you're getting off at like 10 a.m. So I was like, that's a weird mess with you too.
A full like 7 or 8 hour shift before most people are up. Like, okay,
right.
Great.
Yeah, totally.
One of my best friends, the witness actually at my wedding, Kayla, she's a huge coffee fanatic. She competes in like these latte competitions, and she's like,
yeah,
man, she's got to wake up early. It's like, you know, at a certain time she's disappearing because someone's got to gotta set up the shop every time.
Totally.
It's crazy. I do like, thinking about your book, Twist, hearing that you had kind of that interaction of like some bartending, but usually events, you're creating the drinks and also taking the photographs. It makes sense. Because one of the things I noticed, I see this in a lot of drink books where it's either almost like painfully simple or like very confusingly and like intensely complex. And you seem to strike a balance. Most of the drinks in there are like 4-ish, 5 ingredients. I could count probably on both hands how many specialty like mixes you had. So was that like kind of intentional, or how did that come about?
Yeah. I mean, it's always kind of a weird, the book was also very similar to how I just try to approach my content that I put out on social media, of trying to strike that balance of like, I want to be approachable, stuff that's actually realistic for people. Maybe not like, cool, everyone has, nixed a Lota liqueur in their liquor cabinet, but they can at least be like, okay, I can go find that, or I could order that, like something where like people can realistically go grab a couple things from the store or the liquor store, but also not wanting to be like, because I have a lot of the kind of at-home enthusiast people who follow me, but I also now have kind of had this like industry following too. So it's always trying to hit like, okay, speaking to both people can be tricky, because oftentimes the bartenders want something that's a little more interesting, where it's a little, it takes some extra steps in prep to like make a very cool and unique cocktail. So I'm always trying to find that balance of like approachable and something that people can create, but also be something that is the right level of aspirational too, because I feel like that was also part of what got me into cocktails, was like there's so much to learn, and that there's always so much to learn. Like once you kind of figure out once you feel like you've maybe mastered a certain spirit category, or like, oh, I've learned all this stuff about it, then you're like, oh no, there's actually this other producer, or there's this other spirit, or this other bartender who's doing this other thing with it. And it's just like this feeling of just like, oh, there's you never quite master it. Yes, you can get really good, but it's like there's always more to learn. And that sense of curiosity is where I was like, that's where I get really excited, where it's like once I kind of feel like I have things figured out, I feel like that's where things get boring.
Sure.
That's where you just kind of like, and I think for me it's like, again, trying to hit that with the book, with my content of like, I want to keep inspiring curiosity and being like, there's more stuff to learn. There's another level you can go, while still making it feel like this isn't completely out of touch for just someone at home in their kitchen with a few bottles. I feel like I don't always hit that balance, but that's at least always the goal.
It's somewhere in the back of the mind there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, when hearing all that, like, bartenders, they want to be on the bar ordering these complex cocktails. I don't think any of them want to make them in the well. Like sure. I hear bartenders complaining about mojitos. It's like, yeah, come on. You really want a 16-step drink? Yeah, maybe when you order one, but not when you make it. I do. Yeah, I definitely echo to your sentiment. Like, curiosity is a huge driver for me. I got my start. I was mostly bartending, but then I got super fascinated with wine, and then I just started diving down that rabbit hole. And same thing. Like, there's like, even if you learn like magically everything there is to know about everything, like, of course, next year there's another vintage. Like it is itself like a new thing every year.
Yeah, totally.
It was just like, anything I looked at, it's like, oh yeah. And I mean, cocktails are the same way. You learn a ton about cognacs, and then all of a sudden you find out they're making brandy in South America, and it's like, then you learn there's got all these other brandies in South America you didn't hear about. Like, it's the well goes all the way down, which is
totally
cool.
Yeah, totally.
I do like I like the fact that you hit the old fashioned so hard. I think that's kind of like your like emblematic drink. I think I've seen more old-fashioned twists from you than anything.
Sure.
So, yeah. Well, is there something about that drink? Is it that it's just like nothing to hide, or yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it's something where I guess that also kind of ties in with the book too, of just like, where the book, where it's, again, I try to make it where it's like approachable. You can open it up. It's primarily a recipe book, but it is set up where like, you could open up to any book, find a beautiful photo, and be like, oh, here's a recipe to try. But it's always set up where it's like the classic cocktail, and then there's a twist after it, like one or two drinks after that. It's like, it's that template, that format, where it's very obviously there's the cocktail codex from Death and Code that a lot of people reference now of like, oh, there's only 6 or 7 drink templates and everything else kind of comes off of that. And they're by no means the first to kind of put that idea out there. We kind of have the Mr. Potato Head example with cocktails of it's like,
Michael
everything's
Rubin,
kind of
ratios, same thing.
Right. Which I've just always felt like, at least for me starting out, that was very impactful of being like, oh, like you kind of see all these different recipes and all these different cocktails and be like, yeah, but at the end of the day, it's actually very simple. It's all templates and it's all, it's just swapping out different ingredients sort of thing. So yeah, I feel like the old fashioned for me was one of those things where there's a few reasons for it, but one, it's just like, yeah, it is that kind of OG cocktail, spirit, sugar, water, bitters, it's like a very simple template, but it's also one, and this is part of the decision too, where like every Monday I share a new old fashioned recipe idea. Some are better than others when you do it every week. I've been doing it for like a year and a half. So I was like, there's some weeks where I'm like, this one's okay, but it's Monday. I got to put it out. Some are really good. Some are in the middle, it's quite a scale, but, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it's also like people have very strong opinions about old fashions too. So that can also be fun on the social media aspect. The old fashioned and the martini. I feel like both those drinks are like people have their way of how they want it. And not only is it like, this is the way I want it, they, for the most part, believe, no, the way I like it is the best way and any other way isn't an old fashioned or isn't a martini unless it's my way. Which is crazy, but people will die on that hill and will go to bat in the comment section saying why you're making it wrong because you're using rye and not bourbon. Or I had someone go pretty scorched earth on me for, this wasn't even I do some really out there recipes. I just did a rum old fashioned, just like an aged Puerto Rican rum, demerara syrup, bitters, nothing out there. It was like literally just swapped the base spirit for rum. I was like, hey, rum old fashioned's great. A guy went in my comments like calling me some nasty things I probably shouldn't even repeat, just like this full-blown like meltdown on me. But like in the DMs, it was just like, when I was like, I don't know you don't know me, why are you pissed off that I swapped like rum, out your bourbon for rum? So it's like and that's a more extreme example. Most people are a little more tongue-in-cheek and they'll kind of argue, but they're kind of chuckling too, but that's part of it too. It was like, there's the like, cool, like I do want to start conversations. And sometimes it's people being like, what the hell? But oftentimes it's like, no, listen, like an old fashioned, like, yeah, we traditionally think of it as a whiskey cocktail or a brandy cocktail if you're in Wisconsin, or, it's like, and just even that adage there, it's like, yeah, it kind of depends on where you live and what you've had in an old fashioned previously. And that just kind of goes to show you that it's this versatile template it's perfect for experimentation and trying different combinations. It doesn't have to be this one very rigid specific thing. And I feel like that in itself can be a great gateway for people, again, pulling on that curiosity thing of discovering like what cocktails and spirits are. And then it's just like, oh, discovering that the well does go so deep, like you said. And I think it's just like such a good way to get people into it, maybe ruffle some feathers a little bit too, as kind of the on-ramp. Yeah. But yeah, totally. But it's a great kind of entry point, I've found.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It is actually the concoction that convinced our nation back in the day that cocktails were worthwhile. Like it did do that originally. And like,
yeah, totally.
Yeah. The rum one is funny. It's like you thought you were going to avoid like inflexible dogma by leaving the church, but no. It's even more intense when it comes to martinis and the ratios of vermouths. Like,
people take it very, very religiously, you could say.
What's the craziest old fashioned that you did in your time? Is there something that's still like, I can't believe I did that?
I mean, I'd have to look back. I have been working on trying to like itemize recipes because it's very hard to search stuff on social media. You got to just scroll back in a feed. So
it is impossible.
Yeah. So I've been kind of putting some stuff together where people can find recipes easier online. So that'll be helpful to kind of just be able to go back and look easier. But I think
another way to ask that, do you have like a favorite, something that stuck out that like, man, that worked out way better than I thought it would? That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some where like, because in general, I try not to be the guy who's like, I'm just gonna make things weird just to mess with people, you know. But sometimes people, some of my favorite ones are ones where people will throw in suggestions, and one guy's like, you gotta. It's like, it probably was after the rum old fashioned thing where a bartender buddy was like, oh, like you got to do some sort of like chartreuse old fashioned. He's like, that's going to make people mad. And I was like, well, I don't want to be that guy who just puts like 2 ounces of chartreuse in an old fashioned, but I'd have to find what I did on the exact kind of breakdown, but it wasn't like full chartreuse, but I did like green chartreuse with that Bonnes pineapple distillate, which like is every time I use that, people are like, no one will ever be able to get this. I was like, you could order this stuff online. I know chartreuse is a little harder to get, but the pineapple distillate's a lot easier to get these days. Yeah, so it was like this pineapple brandy essentially with green chartreuse, and I think I did just some like homemade orgeat as the sweetener. So it's very much like, did not look like an old fashioned, you know, it's got like a little bit of murkiness to it from the orgeat, and then like you've got green chartreuse, pineapple. I think
like
I did
murky
like
green water,
tiki
probably.
bitters in there. Yeah. So that's where it's like some people are like, yeah, it kind of looks like
Scooped
that last bit of an iced latte sort of thing that you don't really want to drink. So it's one of those where it was like, I kind of was like, this is getting a little too weird. Whereas like, I just don't want to be the guy who's making shitty drinks just for clicks sort of thing. But tasting it, I was like, oh, whoa, like this is, this actually works. So I'll have to find the exact specs for you. I don't know if there's like show notes, we could pop them in or something. But that was one where I was like, oh, like this is fun. It was one where it's like, if you put that on a menu and you called that an old fashioned and you serve that to, you know, Bob, he's going to be like, this isn't an old fashioned. I was like, okay, it's like, I get it. This is pretty far out from what we'd typically think of. But yeah, ones like that are, when they work, are really fun to just see how the template itself can be used for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Even if it's very far from what you'd typically think of.
Sure.
As an old
Yeah.
fashioned.
But if you put that on a menu, call it something like the Monk Goes Tiki or something. Like,
totally.
If you take old fashioned out of it, it's just a drink,
right.
then hell yeah, you know?
Totally.
And I'm so glad that you use chartreuse in the one you use, because, you know, I've been on this hill for a while. I got myself a bottle about 2 months ago. I just had, you know, a little on the rocks, a couple nights here and there, and like, chartreuse is good. It is good by itself. It's powerful, so you got to like pay attention to how much you have, because it is I think 120 proof, but like it's good. There's a reason that it's you know, proven itself to just be that invaluable throughout time. But yeah,
it's not just hype.
No,
those monks figure something out. So.
I know. Yeah, they don't even talk too. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Wild. Gosh.
When you were just kind of getting your start and dipping your toe in making drinks, did you have kind of a systematic way that you taught yourself, or was it trial and error, or something else? Or?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to kind of what I was talking about with templates of, I can't remember like kind of how I initially started on that, but I know it was very much like early on, I'd try to tactfully, you know, get advice from the bartenders who were just serving me around town. Obviously, I'd try to be the guy who's like, okay, it's like not when someone's like in the weeds, you know, but like if his sort of thing was like, okay, like I'd often just start with asking like, you know, what's your well tequila? Like I'd love to know what your go-to bottle is for making cocktails for this category, you know. So I'd kind of start just talking with bartenders about that stuff, and then kind of that would kind of open up a conversation talking more about cocktails. At the time I was just like, you know, I'm just coming up with stuff at home or considering maybe a career change, you know. It kind of just from there like got into bartenders just being like, yeah, dude, just learn the classics. Like start with the classics, learn how to make those really, really well. And then once you have these, you know, a lot of these classic drinks figured out, they're like, it kind of comes naturally. Like you just kind of start figuring out that structure and you start swapping out ingredients. And that was kind of like a common piece of advice from different bartenders around town. So it was like, okay, start with the classics. That makes sense. Start with the basics is kind of how I pictured it. Yeah. So that was kind of very much the approach that I was pointed towards and have really kind of stuck with. Yeah. And it's like now there's there's things where I think a lot of bartenders or drink makers, creators, what we, no one wants to be called a mixologist. So, but it's just like often coming up with, looking at stuff that's in season and all of that too. We're like lucky to be in Oregon, where it's just like very lush, a lot of farmers markets, a lot of cool, like access to different ingredients. So all of that, makes for a lot of easy inspiration, so that certainly helps.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's a great spot too. A lot of cool stuff happens up there in the Pacific Northwest. You get a lot of it's kind of a virtuous cycle where you have enough people interested that it supports it. So more comes around, so more people get interested.
Totally.
Jeffrey Morgenthaler's up there. He's kind of old G. You threw his Amaretto Sour in too, now that I think about it. Yeah. So we've done some videos together. Yeah, he's very, he's like obviously he's
like at the bar here in Portland, but he's also like he's always down to jump in a video, and he's also very, giving with his knowledge too. And I kind of think of him as like the OG a lot of things, but he's also kind of like the OG. Like, he'd probably hate me calling him like a cocktail content creator, but it's like, dude, like his website and his blog, like I feel
it was the original, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like he kind of started in a time where I feel like a lot of bartenders more just kind of kept their cards close to their chest, and he was like, cool, here's all my recipes, here's how I do everything, and just kind of like, it's like now it's like, you can go on any social media platform and get drink recipes or whatever, but he really was a pretty cool source for, even before my time, for sure.
Sure,
but,
yeah. No, I still remember when I was like 18, 19, bar backing and reading his blog back in the day. It's like, this is mind blowing. Yeah. I don't have to make shitty drinks. That's great.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. So there's like him. There's also like Jim Meehan is in Portland too. Like,
and his new book's all about ingredients. So all the cool stuff. Yeah.
Totally. So you got some great people around here, which is also very fun.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, because I do see a lot of pictures on social media of drinks, the results of drinks, people making drinks that aren't great. So
sure.
If I was looking to make better pictures of my cocktails or just capture a better scene, while I'm at work or something, is there like an 80-20 of like the things you look for when you photograph? Or
I mean, it's kind of depends. It's like, I mean, I do a lot of education around cocktail photography too. It's kind of like my whole other side business as well. Because it's one of those things where it's like, and it is cool, bartenders and hospitality industry get it, where it's like, there's definitely a lot of nuance to capturing cocktails, glassware, bottles, things that are reflective, see-through. It's just like there's all these little challenges and nuances.
I've taken some shitty pictures for sure. Thank you all for listening. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, go to servesyouRightPod.com. We have all the old episodes on there, and you can sign up for our newsletter and all sorts of other fun things. Glad you're listening. All right, back to it.
Yeah, or like I talk with a lot of bartenders who are like, I put on portrait mode, but the portrait mode thing like blurs out half the glass, or it blurs out the rim of the glass, so it looks like what's going on. It's like there's all these weird little challenges with glassware or reflective things. So so that's where like I've put out quite a bit of education just specific to that subject. Cocktail Camera is like my platform on like education on photo video. So I have like a YouTube channel where I have a bunch of like cocktail specific tutorials on how to capture cocktails. But in general, I tell people, like, obviously, like your smartphone's great. There's limitations, like I said, with portrait mode doesn't often guarantee a great photo, but especially when it comes to cocktails and bottles and liquid, really focusing and figuring out on how to improve your lighting is going to make the biggest difference. Everyone always asks me, like, what mode do I put? What smartphone? What camera? I was like, obviously those tools are important. I wouldn't spend money on those tools if they weren't. But like lighting is the thing that really kind of changed the game for me, of just kind of shifting my focus to like, where's the light coming from? Oftentimes I was shooting in bars and restaurants where it was like, it's the evening. Even if there are windows, there isn't great natural light. So it was always figuring out, how can I use a lamp, or how can I bring a small unobtrusive light with me that will help make things look good but not ruin the vibe. So there's all these kind of, it's another kind of deep well, just like with these cocktails, but it's something where I feel like if you can shift your focus to lighting and even just noticing light. For some bar clients I shot with back in the day, it was just a matter of, okay, we got to take pictures of drinks at a certain time of day where we know the light's going to be good. Or it was like, if we're going for a certain look, certain vibe, we're like, okay, we're going to get this flash or this kind of LED light so that we can kind of get this moody light in the dark bar. So there's obviously a lot of different things we could go into there, but at least kind of as a broader piece of advice for people is like, yeah, like to shift your focus, not away from the camera. Obviously you have to know how to take a picture on your phone or your device, whatever you're using, but really shifting to be like, okay, how do I learn light? How do I become a student of lighting and how to notice where it's coming from, time of day, or how to create light from something? That's what's going to make the biggest difference in your imagery.
No, that's a great point. That is, me asking you like to explain photography in 5 minutes is absurd. I now realize, but yeah,
no,
it's like explain how to love. You have 2 minutes, yes, but you know, even like where I am, like you wouldn't be able to tell, but I've kind of got it like shoved in the corners. Like this would look like a dark dungeon, but I have like these ghetto lights put up here, and the like putting these up were the things that like made it look better of everything I tried. So just like being aware of that, like
sure,
it makes a huge difference. And like without it, because of the lighting, I look like a ghoul, but like with it, it's like okay, like I can stomach having that out on the internet. But yeah, that is a good one. You can't improve the lighting too if you don't notice it, you know? Right.
Yeah. And even just like, obviously, like I try not to just give people like, here's a shopping list, here's all the things you need to take a good photo or video, or because it's like, it just doesn't work that way. But I always tell people, or even at going to Bar Convent Brooklyn to teach a workshop on cocktail photography, and my thing is just telling bartenders was like, okay, especially if you're shooting in your bar, it's like you already have what you need. As far as everyone has a smartphone, everyone has, you know, bar tools and all these ingredients for making the cocktail. You can use bar tools as props and whatever. So I'm like, if you can just buy one light, even if it's like, what I usually recommend to bartenders is it's this thing called a Nan light Pavo tube, and there's a lot of different versions of them now, but it's just like a 12-inch, it's a tube light, you know, an LED light with 2 buttons on the back. You turn it on, off, and then it's like you can adjust the color temperature so it can kind of match, you know, if you have warmer lighting, it can kind of match that color, versus daylight, you know, it's more blue toned, you know, so you can adjust the brightness and the color temperature. And it's nice because it's like, it's a tube, it's also magnetic on the back, so you could put it on a back bar, you could put it down on the well if you want kind of this underlit thing. I also just like putting it just upright on the bar and kind of moving it around until I get like just cool shadows on the drink. And also because it's tall and linear, your reflections in the glassware or the bottle, whatever you're taking pictures of, look very natural. Sometimes if you bring a big old,
it's not just one
lamp
light
over
sort of thing. Oh yeah,
right, yeah. It's like sometimes because your glassware, your bottle's often just reflecting the light, and you get these big reflections that don't look very good. So since it's this thin, tall light, the reflection in the glass looks very great and not like super noticeable. So, and again, that's like 12 inches. It's small. Like I can put it in a winter coat very easily. I can throw it in a bag. That's one where I was like, that's great for bartenders who just like, you know, aren't going to buy a bunch of fancy lenses and expensive equipment, but even just this one light can do a lot for just sharing both photo or video content. So yeah, and I mean, happy to send you details on that one too if you want to throw that in. But
and it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure that every major like camera maker out there will take all the money you have if you want,
right?
But like
totally,
you have a camera. It's not professional, but I mean, iPhone 10 years ago, like what we have is mind-boggling. You know, like truly,
totally.
Do you notice? This is kind of curious because I noticed after bartending for years and then getting really into wine that I got very focused on flavor and like detecting things. I'm wondering, like, when you look at like scenes or different like aspects, do you notice that you are like able to pick up a lot more detail just having so much photography experience?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's been an interesting, especially with the rise of generative AI content too. It's been interesting too, just to see, you know, a lot of times people will send me their cocktail recipes, being like, oh, hey, like I made this, would love to get your thoughts. And, you know, they'll send me a photo and a recipe card. I'm like, wow, Claude did a great job on this.
Look at all those
I'll
M
kinda
dashes.
call 'em
Yeah.
right, yeah. And it's like, even with image, obviously imagery is getting better and better with AI too, for better or for worse. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, since it's so much of what I do every day, it's like, it is kind of funny to see like, oh, like I can kind of spot these just little things with glassware or with liquid, or oftentimes I can kind of reverse engineer someone's lighting setup with seeing a photo, stuff where it's like,
That's cool. That's really cool.
it's only really helpful for what I do specifically, but I can kind of be like, oh, I more or less kind of know what they're working with or what their settings were by seeing an image. Which again, it's like it's just one of those funny niche things. We were like, no one told me cocktail photographer was a career in high school, so now I have all of this kind of knowledge and very specific skill set around that. But I'm like, all right, well, I'm doing it, so I guess it's a career.
The world's strangest superhero, but here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only thing I have similar to that, and like, obviously with the wine thing, blind tasting.
Yeah.
Like similar-ish. You got to like pick apart, but
yeah,
I remember
that's pretty
working
cool.
at Coyote, Quinn Stevenson, the owner, and like really fantastic somm. We would make cocktails and we would try to figure out what the ingredients were, like one bartender not telling the others.
Yeah.
And that, like, picking apart the ingredients is like, that's harder
fun.
than you would think, because
Totally. Yeah.
sometimes it's just a little bit of this or that. And
yeah. It's funny because my wife's not in the industry at all. Like she'll try stuff I make her, and she does appreciate some stuff where she really enjoys mezcal, and she likes certain things, but she's kind of more like, all right, this is your thing. But she has such an amazing palate where, like, for someone who's not really in that world, it's like I will make her something or even have her try a spirit, and she'll just pull these things out where I'm just like, how do you get that?
Are you not getting
so I've
the
always been really
lemongrass?
jealous
And it's like, oh, Jesus.
of people who have that level of being able to pull stuff apart like that. It's really cool. So
that is funny, because my wife is the same way. And like earlier when you were talking about not being able to remember exactly the drink, I was reminded of this. So like, this was before we even started dating. She came in and I made her a cocktail, and the only thing we can remember is it has creme de cassis, because she's not big into, like, she doesn't remember a lot of the names. I just kind of like talk about it, and she's like, okay, sure, make me another one.
Sure.
And like, it was before we were dating, and she was like, this is the best drink I've ever had. And like, I found out she said that like after we started dating, but I have no idea what, like, it was just like a riff on something, but I have no memory.
Sure.
Like, I'm just like, okay. She was like, I like black currant. I was like, I'll just put something together, see what happens. And she's always like, you have to be able to remember that drink. I'm like, not even the slightest clue. No fucking idea. That was like a Friday night 4 weeks ago. No idea.
Yeah.
So that drink is just lost to history forever, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's tough, knowing that you made the best drink you've ever made, and then you're like, well, that's
lost
it.
a drink,
done it.
got a wife.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Never know. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it worked
You still
out.
came out ahead. So
Do you have any big projects you're working on? Anything cool coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's been kind of a crazy year. Slow year business wise, which is just kind of, weird year in general for everyone. But yeah, there's been a lot of just kind of, I moved studios. I work out of just like a studio in downtown Portland, just have little kiddos at home and having camera gear and booze everywhere,
Might as well throw
Toddlers.
a couple like loaded guns in there too, just like have fun.
I know,
right?
It was just like, glassware and shelves, and so it's like got a space a few years ago, and then kind of just moved to this one. So that's been a big project of just moving stuff over, and then just this last month I was working on launching kind of this online cocktail club thing that I was kind of experimenting with. Kind of like what I was saying, where it was like it's hard to, for people to find recipes that I posted, especially a year ago. It's like almost impossible to find, but even a few weeks ago, it's kind of like, oh, how many posts do I have to scroll through? So I started kind of making like an online database of like, oh, here's all of kind of my cocktails paired with my photography, simple syrup recipes, all this stuff. So kind of was becoming this big database thing, but I was like, well, anyone can go on Difford's Guide or Imbibe or anything and pull up whatever recipes they want.
Liquor.com,
There's blogs.
yeah,
There's so many things. So, but I was having all these people kind of share either via email or DM and sharing stuff that they would make from my posts or asking questions about things. It was always kind of felt like I'm this bottleneck where I'm like, sometimes I can't get back to everyone. Just the reality of like, yeah, I'm a person. I don't want to turn on a chat bot. I don't want people to feel like they're just dealing with more AI. I'm like, no, I want to be able to help people. But with that, you have the limitation. I basically made kind of this online community platform thing where I'm in it and answering questions and doing, we're doing some live events and stuff, but it's been really cool to kind of remove the bottleneck a bit. And like people will share questions or stuff they've made. And it's cool. Like I'll go on and look and be like, oh, people have already answered the questions or engaged with it before I've even seen it, sort of thing. So that's been cool to like just have this other way that I think was also part of my frustration with social media in general, not just the searchability, but also the one-sidedness of it, where I'm like, it's funny as someone who is a content creator and benefits from doing that. I'm like, I do just feel like social media now isn't social. You just kind of follow content creators. You follow accounts you like. There's not really this two-way. It's not, you comment and like stuff, but there's not really this like, it's more like, I feel like I'm just putting out video or I'm just on a stage sharing stuff and like it, engage, so it's been cool to have something that's truly more community focused and it's not just about me and what I put out. It's cool to connect with people in a little more meaningful way. So yeah, that's basically been a very big project over the last few months that I kind of put out recently. But yeah,
that's awesome. That's going to be cool. There is a part of me too that feels like half the time that I'm just in a room talking to myself. Like there's a part of your brain I think that feels that
totally
filming with not someone there too, because I film some intros and stuff. You just like look at the camera like try number 3. Okay, yes.
Yeah, and, totally.
It is weird. It definitely is. So I can only imagine if that's the majority of what you do.
Yeah, that's where it's like really most of my time is, in a room by myself talking to a camera lens. So it's definitely, it's a weird kind of daily reality. There is like a social element of getting to interact with people online, but yeah, it's definitely like its own unique experience.
Yeah. No, I still remember pretty recently someone reached out and asked about something about decanting a wine. And I remember, I answered them because it wasn't a long answer, but a thought in my head was like, this isn't scalable. Like, there's going to be a point where I'm like, I don't know if I can answer these questions.
Sure.
It's like, which, good and bad. It is kind of part of what it is. It just is. Yeah. Yeah,
totally. And that's where I was like, people also love, feeling useful. And that's where I was like part of the community aspect where I was like, it's not like, cool, I don't want to help people or answer questions, but it's like there's also people in the community who do know more than me or could answer a question better than me. And it was like cool to actually just see that happen naturally. And that's where I was like, cool, like that's harder to happen on social media. I think just because it's like things are so split up now where it's like you have DMs and you have all these different ways of connecting that aren't necessarily like, it's not necessarily built for community interaction in mind. It's more built for views and for clicks. And it's like it's more built to benefit the platform, not necessarily the actual personal connections. So yeah, that's a tough one. That's like hard to figure out how to still make that happen. And that's something I'm hoping to continue kind of building and fostering that like connection element. Also, just like you said, scalability wise, from like you can't answer everyone's questions if you want to be a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely want you to send me that link, or I don't mind. I can find it on my own. It's like, I think that is going to be awesome for people listening to this to check out. And like, I think going forward, my big bet for the end of this year in 2027 is community is going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Like as AI gets better, as it gets cheaper and cheaper to put out, what will more and more less look like slop and just interesting things. Like the things that are left are going to be the communities and interacting with people and the imperfections and
right.
I think, or we're all going to die. Like,
totally.
It's like one way or the other. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows?
Hopefully
knows?
We'll make it. We might just be Mad Maxing it, So yeah,
I'm from Texas.
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, we were going through the like hayfields and back alleys way before any of this AI stuff, and I can do it again.
Yeah, perfect.
Is there anything, Jordan, that we missed that you'd be remiss and sad if we didn't cover, because we are coming kind of close to the end of our time.
I don't think so. Yeah, I feel like we covered a lot. I mean, we started with church and pastor stuff, and
ended with AI.
Yeah. Went through the end of days, Mad Max and the apocalypse. So
yes, Dogma showed up in different forms, and it was very apocalyptic. We definitely did.
Yeah, way to cover it all. Look at us.
Yeah.
So.
You know, if you're listening to this, one of the lessons that I'm going to take away from this, I hope you do too, is that if you do want to try something online or do want to try something new, it's just kind of start. You know, you'll find the intersection of your skills and talents and what the world responds to, and just keep going.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. Yeah.
If I could add one thing to that, like I feel like, especially if we're coming at it from a social media perspective, like I work with a lot of bartenders who are like, oftentimes the phrase is like, I don't have time to make content. Like, I'm a bartender, or I'm a chef, it's like when you're working in a bar or restaurant, it's like you are busy. It's like when you have time to make content, and obviously valid. Like for me now, I'm like, I have certain days of the week where I'm like, this is my content day. But it's like, I know that for most people that just doesn't make sense. And I feel like even just shifting that perspective from creating to documenting, because I think when we swim in this water of like, cocktails, prep, kitchen, whatever, you almost lose sight of like just how cool and interesting the stuff you're doing every day is to your normal average person. I always tell bartenders like you always see cocktail videos of people making the recipes, which makes sense. People want to learn how to make recipes, but like even showing like how you're prepping your station before work, like how you're preparing to serve cocktails all night, or how you're preparing your kitchen, like shifting from like, I need to make content, and then to just putting your phone on a little tripod and being like, I'm just going to document what I do. And it's still work. You still have to edit and try to figure out, okay, what music should I put in the background? When do I post this? It's like, there's still stuff to do, but making it more about, instead of adding something else to your list, being like, I'm just going to start documenting and showing people what I do. One bartender I was working with was like, she does all these competitions. And I was like, you see everyone's competition entries to all these cool bar shows and competitions and stuff, but like, what does the prep look like for that? How do you prepare to even, or how do you even enter these competitions? How do you find them? What's the process like? I was like, I don't see content like that. And that's where it's like, just think through like, what are you already doing? Try to take yourself out of the water a little bit to be like, oh, like your average person doesn't know how this works behind the scenes. And just showing that, documenting that, figuring out what few seconds am I going to post and what music I'm going to throw in the background, that could be it. That could be the thing that really connects with people. And maybe it's not a complete career change where you quit your job and now you're a content creator, but it is something that does open up a lot of doors, whether that's with brands or speaking engagements, or even what I'm doing of just going to Bar Convent Brooklyn and getting to share what I've learned with other people. And it's just something that can open up different opportunities for you. So hopefully that's helpful. If not,
live your life the way you want. So I will echo that 100%. The best thing I ever did was start putting things out online, and I did not know that I would have an emotional response or difficulty with it. And working through that, it's great. I mean, it has opened me up in ways that I never expected, like ever. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, without realizing it, suffer from self-esteem issues where it's like, what, I'm interesting enough to film? But it's like, actually getting through life and realizing that you are still an interesting person is a big part of being a healthy, functioning adult. You are. Yeah. And like, have you ever read Oliver Berkman's 4,000 Weeks?
No.
Oh man, it's awesome. You definitely, if you like, it's kind of like semi-philosophical, like tongue-in-cheek, but it's 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. And so the whole thing is every average person has about 4,000 weeks in their life.
Wow.
And his big thing is, if you say that you want to do something in life, at some point you're going to have to just do it. And he's like, as simple as this truth is, people get through the whole life and don't realize it. And they get to the end and realize that, the family they're going to start, the house they're going to build, the career they're going to change to just didn't happen because it's like, tomorrow, like next week. Yeah. Kids are young. Sure. You're like, it's easy to do, but
totally. Yeah. Well,
I don't know why we got all philosophical at the end, but I'm glad we did.
No, gotta do it. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna go work in the kitchen. Jordan, it is awesome to get to meet you and know you, and yeah, like thank you for what you
you
do
too,
online.
man.
Yeah.
Oh, appreciate it. Well, yeah, thanks for having me. I'm glad we could make it happen.
Thank you for listening. That is today's episode. Now, if you have not taken a moment to check out our website, please do. It's servesyouRightPod.com. We have past episodes and all sorts of other things there. If you want to get in touch with me, that's the place to do it. I do appreciate that you've given me your most valuable asset, your time and attention. So thank you for listening. And stay tuned. We have some really cool guests coming up. I would hate it if you missed it. Cheers.